Let the other 10 tribes drown with the Titanic and nobody knows where they are. And in order to find the 10 tribes, you're going to have to find the Titanic. That's leaven. You're letting that back in your life. Well, Rabbi, I resent that. There's this place real close to my house. It's very convenient. And it's true they use God and Lord and Jesus. It's true, but it's very convenient. And they even pick me up for church. They even pick me up. They're very loving. They're more loving than you are, Rabbi. They're a lot more tolerant than you are. They even send the bus every Sunday morning to pick me up. You know what we're doing? When we go to a place that doesn't use Yahweh's true name, doesn't preach the restoration and regathering of both houses of Israel, we are letting the chametz of wrong doctrine. Was it not Yeshua in Matthew 18 who turned to his Talmidim and he said, beware of the chametz of the Pharisees?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Why? A little chametz, what? Leaven's a whole lump. You start living unright, and pretty soon the lump starts getting affected. So it has a ripple effect. Your behavior Monday through Sunday, when we don't see you in your Shabbat clothing, and we don't see you with your best face on, you bring that chametz into the camp, and pretty soon that whole lump, and it just takes one person to fall, and then two people fall, and we have the domino effect.
Right.
In Yehoshua 7, Achan brought in the cursed thing into the camp, and all Israel was slain before their enemy. The entire camp was cursed because of Achan's sin. And if you're Achan, we're Achan.
One man. One man.
Turn to your neighbor and say, don't make me ache.
Don't make me ache.
If you're Achan, we're Achan. And he brought in the cursed thing into the camp of Israel, and the entire congregation was slain before their enemies. Well, Rabbi, it's just una cigarrillo de marijuana. Nobody know nothing. Nobody know nothing. Well, guess what? You bring that in here, and pretty soon it could affect your living, your standard, your morality, and even my preaching. It's going to affect my preaching.
Consequences.
Because it has like a ripple effect.
Yes.
If you love your brothers and sisters, you'll walk in love toward them.
Amen.
So Israel was sent out of Egypt without any chametz. Not with that, without any connections. Allo. You got some chametz? No phone, why? No connection, why? No Western Union, why? Because Egypt was left behind. They couldn't go back to Egypt for chametz. Why? They made exodus from Egypt. Are you getting this?
Yes. Yes.
The whole point of having 7 days of Chag Matzot is to show you that once you are set free and justified, Yahweh doesn't want you going back to Egypt, going into the world, going and looking for places and things and people and television programs and illicit dance routines that can bring a little leaven into your life.
Right.
Because if you learn unrighteous dancing, pretty soon you're going to start watching unrighteous dancing.
That's right.
And after that, in order to swing to the music, you're going to have to listen to unrighteous music, because the unrighteous dancers don't dance to messianic tunes.
Right.
And now you're in a downward spiral. But wait a second. But now that person doesn't live in a vacuum. They live in a home. And the leaven comes into the home. Now, I'll be honest with you. Can we talk?
Yes.
Brooke says okay. I struggle with television because
You're a news junkie.
yes, Ted.
I knew that.
And a sports junkie.
News junkie.
I am a news junkie. Fox, CNN, not anymore. MSNBC. And so I want to know what's going on. And Yahweh dealt with me the other day, and I said, well, let's do this slowly. No more TV on Shabbat. Before shul, no TV. After shul, no TV. We're still working on Friday nights.
Come on.
Okay? Chill out. But you see,
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
but a little leaven leavens the whole lump.
Yes.
And if my heart is on what's going on in Baghdad, then how ready am I to come here and give Yahweh my all?
Yeah.
And if you notice, when I worship, I'm not a dancer. You know, it's not in my nature or physique. I close my eyes and I worship. I don't care who's wearing what, who's doing what, who's wiggling. I just close my. I don't want to look around. So if I'm not looking at you, don't be offended. I'm here to look at Yahweh.
Amen. Amen. Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Are you with me?
On.
Yahweh requires us to get rid of our leaven and not to bring it back in. Amen. Did Israel clear out all the leaven before they left Egypt?
Yes.
When they left Egypt, was there anything in the desert to give them leaven?
No.
Was there anyone in the desert to give them leaven?
No.
What about the promised land? Didn't Yahweh say, don't make a covenant with any of the inhabitants of the land?
Correct.
Don't take their spoils. Don't take their children. Don't take their wives for your sons. Don't take their sons for your wives. Do not touch any of their spoils.
Right.
So in other words, he didn't make a provision for them in the promised land.
Right.
They couldn't get leaven. They couldn't get leaven in the wilderness. They couldn't get leaven back in Egypt. The way Yahweh set it up was for his people never to bring chametz back into the camp.
Right.
That's why there are 7 days of Passover. Yahweh is teaching us it ain't a one-time thing on Passover, and you said you wouldn't see your boyfriend anymore or your girlfriend. It ain't a one-time thing. It's an ongoing thing.
Amen.
Live before me clean, pure, and set apart all the days of your life. Delight yourself in Yahweh, Tehillim 37:4, and he will give you the desires of your heart.
Amen.
Is anyone enjoying?
Yes.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Well, you're not making any noise.
We're drinking it in, Rabbi.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. So think about it. Here was Israel. They experienced Pesach like we did a few nights ago. Can't go back to Egypt. They're out of Egypt. Can't find any chametz in the desert. And they were forbidden to take chametz of any of the inhabitants of Canaan. Where were they? Remember, to make chametz, you've got to have chametz. Are you getting the point?
Yes.
That's it, brothers and sisters. It is a Chag Matzot is not Pesach like the Jews teach. It's not 8 days of Passover. It's one night of Passover.
Yes.
Passover is I'm going to justify you. Are you ready to walk with me clean the rest of your days? Are you ready to behave the way I see you? I see you holy and blameless. I see you perfect. I see you pleasing to the Father. I see you accepted in the beloved, Ephesians 1:4. Holy and blameless before the foundation of the world. Rav Shul says, act like a new lump because you are a new lump. Isn't that exactly what he said?
Yes.
He said, act, don't pretend because you don't have to pretend.
Amen.
He says, act like a new lump because that's who the Passover, Yeshua HaMoshiach, our Pesach, made you to be.
That's right.
So the 7 days are a test to see if you can act out who you already are.
Yeah.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Come on.
It's a test because if you can't live for Yahweh for 7 days, honey, you ain't going to live for him for 11 months. It's a little bit of a test. Yeah, you got your heart right. All right. You ate of the paschal lamb. All right. But now Yahweh says, let's start with 7 days. I don't want you to mess with the leaven of Egypt. When you get to the promised land in heaven, there's not going to be any sin. There's not going to be any leaven. And on the journey, you are not to look for leaven and bring it back into your heart.
That's right.
Just like you don't bring it back into your home. Where is it in the Bible that after 7 days, we've got to go out and buy leaven? Where is it?
Don't see it.
You don't see it.
Not even.
Leaven, not only that. Go with me, please. Is anyone enjoying?
Yeah, come on.
Yes.
Vayikra.
Yahweh.
And you know, you can read the Bible 7 days on unleavened bread. Oh boy, more meetings. I gotta pay more offerings. They're gonna pass the basket around more. That's not what it's about. That's not what it's about. It's about, Yahweh says, now take your new heart. You cleanse your heart for Pesach. You repented of your sin. And now these 7 days are all the days of your life till Yeshua comes or till you come to Yeshua. You're either going to come to Yeshua or Yeshua's going to come to you. I'll say that again. You're either going to come to Yeshua or Yeshua's going to come to you. And from the point of your justification, He expects you to walk all the days of your life set apart without fault before Him. Amen.
Amen.
Vayikra
Yes.
2:11. Leviticus 2 and 11. Every sacrifice given to Yahweh from His people Israel. Look at verse 11. No grain offering which you bring to Yahweh is made with leaven. You do not burn any leaven or honey or any honey in an offering made to Yahweh. Did you get that?
No leaven.
No, every offering to Yahweh must be without.
Leaven.
11.
That's what those 7 days are. The 7 days are everything in your life. Giving, tithing, visiting the homeless, feeding the poor. Whatever you do, it's got to be done with a good heart, with the right motive. No sacrifice of Israel can be given to Yahweh mixed with leaven, mixed with chametz.
No honey.
That's what the 7 days is. It's like He that began this work will perform it. He that began this work will complete it. But there's something expected of you. And what's expected of you is don't go back to your drinking buddies. Don't go back to your whoring buddies. Don't go back to the Jewish folks who don't teach the right doctrine. Beware of the leaven, the chametz of the Pharisees. Yeah, they got you started, but that doesn't mean you got to go back and live with them.
Amen.
Sure, they got you started. So what? That's good. But they're not going to. The Jews are not going to finish the work. Yahshua is going to finish the work.
Amen.
You know, and the church stuff, same thing. It does matter. There's leaven there. There's leaven there. Chametz. We are not to allow the impure to come in contact with the pure in any sacrifice we do for Yahweh in our lives. Amos 4:5. Amos 4:5. Amos 4:5.
Okay, Jim.
And burn an offering of thanksgiving with leaven. Proclaim voluntary offerings loudly. For you have loved this, children of Israel, declares the Master Yahweh. You go back to verse 4. You bring your offerings every morning and your tithes every 3 days. I like that. Ted, you think that would work?
Try.
I'll try it. Your tithes, you bring your tithes every 3 days and your offerings every morning. You give them voluntarily to Yahweh. You love doing this, declares Yahweh. But notice, the offerings contain what? Leaven. Look at the end of verse 6. You gave me offerings, but you did not turn back to me.
Come on.
In other words, brothers and sisters, when Yahweh delivers us of sin, He wants it to be forever.
Yeah.
Even though our people were tithing every 3 days, even though we were offering voluntary offerings to Yahweh, we were mixing it with chametz.
Yeah.
Do you realize Yahweh's will for the people of Israel is never to let the chametz back in your life,
Right.
back in your heart, back in your tent, back in your dwellings? Do you realize that? How are we different than other people? We are not, just because Pesach is over and Chag Matzot is over, we're not allowed to go back to those things that we repented of. That's why we have 7 days. How about this? You ever find yourself, can we talk? Let's try that again. Can we talk?
Yes.
Do you ever find yourself in a situation where you completely remove yourself from a sinful thought or an action? And you're doing good? Huh?
Yes.
You ever have that happen to you?
Yes.
You remove yourself from a sinful action or thought or behavior, and you're doing good, right? But then you come into contact with another person or another place. And you run into their chametz. And you get a little bit of their chametz back into your temple.
There, Hamid.
How about, forget about actions, how about conversations? How about you lending your ears to slander and gossip, which is why we don't have them here. I throw them out. And I'm proud of it. The people that were troubling Israel, you don't see them anymore. Because they didn't come in to worship Yahweh, to focus in on Yahweh. He's this, she's that, he's that. Everybody's wrong, everybody's mean, everybody's cold, everybody's harsh. Really? You mean there's no one in the congregation that's loving? No. You mean there's no one in the congregation that is walking in love? No. Everybody's harsh to me. Well, hold on, sweetheart. Did it ever occur to you that you may be the problem? Now, if 2 people are abusing you, okay, that's understandable. That can be corrected. But everybody is in the same boat. Maybe you've got maybe the chametz is in your heart. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. So how about when we're doing real good? We've had a great day in Yeshua. We've prayed. We're back on track. We're keeping Shabbat. We're walking in the Moadim. We're doing real good. And boom, you meet Mr. and Mrs. Complainer. How's everything? Oh, are you okay? No. Are you gonna be coming next week? I don't care. I don't know. I'm never, ever coming back to this place. And you're doing great. You've just had a great week. Everything, you're just rolling. You're rolling, snake eyes. Everything's coming up roses. And before you know it, you come back and you come in here and boom, that chametz. And you let it into your ears. You let it into your heart.
Low toe.
That's low toe.
Low toe.
So the whole purpose of Chag Matzot is, listen, child of Yahweh, you haven't arrived. You've been justified, but you've got to let me sanctify you.
Amen.
So the 7 days of Chag Matzot is the sanctification of Yahweh in your life.
Yes. Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
We got brothers and sisters that are still going back to the days of their redemption, and they're not allowing Yahweh. And how does Yahweh sanctify you? By teaching you obedience, because obedience is better than leaven sacrifice. Yahweh doesn't want your leaven sacrifice. He wants obedience. And so the purpose of the 7 days is to say, yes, you're justified. No, you're not glorified.
Come on.
Go ahead and sit quiet on me.
Yeah. Hello.
I'm not yelling. I'm yelling, Rabbi, you just don't listen. So the 7 days of Chag Matzot is to say, the one who has redeemed you is the one who is going to sanctify you, but you have not yet been glorified. It's a wonderful yearly reminder that we are in the process of being sanctified.
Yes. Amen. Hashem Yahweh.
Why? Because we're not an ideal people. We're not a perfect people. Our forefathers had no leaven. Well, what happened to them? They found leaven. What do? Huh? They made themselves a golden egel. Egel Zahav. Write it down, you might learn some Hebrew. Egel Zahav.
Golden cat.
Now, they didn't have it, so they made it. Now, after Pesach, we don't have any chametz in our home, but as soon as that 8th day is over, oh man, I could get my cake now. I can get my 7-layer cake. And we're in a rush to get the chametz back in our house.
Honey cake.
And if it wasn't for Yahweh slowing us down after Pesach, we'd go and bring the chametz back the next day. Yahweh says, I'm not going to let you. It's going to be illegal for you to bring it in the next day. You can bring it in on the 8th day because technically you're being sanctified. You with me?
Yeah.
So the whole process of Chag HaMatzot is to remind us that the goodness of Yahweh will bring us to sanctification. Are you with me? Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Hashem Yahweh.
In the 7th hour.
A little leaven leavens a whole lump. The first stage of the Chag Matzot is Pesach, redemption. His blood was shed. Now, the second step is sanctification. The third step is glorification. When Yeshua returns, what's going to happen to us? We're going to receive our glorified, immortal bodies. Are we immortal souls like the church teaches? No. The soul that sins shall die. We are not immortal souls. But through the victory of Yeshua as the Pesach lamb, we put on his immortality. This corruption must put on incorruption. This mortal must put on immortality. Then shall be brought to pass the saying, O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where? In other words, this mortal must put on immortality. It is a lie from this yeast, the chametz system, that you have an immortal soul, and if you believe in Christ, you're going to go to heaven, and if you don't, you're going to go to hell because you have an immortal soul. That's Plato. That's Aristotle. That's not Torah or Yahweh. You want to hear my whole theology?
Yes.
You want to hear my whole theology in one sentence?
Yes.
You and I are going to a hole 6 feet deep. And the only way to get out of that hole is the blood of Yeshua. That's my whole theology.
Hallelujah.
H-O-L-E. Hole.
That's right.
Turn to your neighbor and say, that's his whole theology. You and I have an appointment with death, for it is written in Hebrews 9:27. It is appointed unto man once to die, then the judgment. You and I have an appointment with the undertaker. And so here's my whole theology. You and I are going to go into a nice rectangle hole in the ground, 6 feet under. And there's only one way you're ever going to come up, and that's the blood of the Paschal Lamb. That's my whole theology.
Hallelujah.
And then I'll put on his immortality. Then I'll put on his incorruption. But if I don't accept him as my personal master and savior now, I'll never get to put on the incorruptible body. I'll never get to put on immortality, because the soul that sins, Ezekiel 18:3 and 4, that soul shall die.
That's right.
Adam was dead, and Yahweh breathed into him the breath of life, and he became a living nefesh. He was not an immortal nefesh, he became a living nefesh, but by connotation, a living nefesh can become a dead nefesh.
Yes.
Amen.
Adam was a dead being until Yahweh breathed into him. He became a living soul. The soul is not immortal. That is one of the most wicked doctrine of demons.
Yeah.
Well, you know, brother, you're going to live forever. Just a matter of where you're going to live. Where? Slow down. Chametz! Chametz! Well, brother, you know, you're going to live forever. It's just a matter of where.